Good afternoon. How are you? Well, end of the week, anticipating the next holiday coming around the corner. I spent some time at my desk today, and for some who think they want to escape work, I don't know. I think we're lucky when there's a problem that bothers us that we want to solve, and so that's the best kind of work, and writing and research and revising. Writing is revising. Okay, so we're out here today, and Jefferson tells me that it's 44 degrees, and it feels that. It's overcast, but no snow or rain. The humidity is 62, so that's not bad, and the wind is 10 miles an hour. And if you can hear me clearly, then it's not affecting us, and I don't feel it to tell you there is any wind. So that's that story. I have thought, and I've mentioned this before, that Trump and his ilk will ultimately tear themselves apart when confronted with the conflicting positions they took to get elected and what people believed would happen and how Trump would take care of their basest desires and invoke their prejudice and other things at the same time. Now, you really can't be very sympathetic to the voters who bought a pig in a poke expecting Trump to be better than he has ever been. And of course, he hasn't been. And having not thought through some of the issues, I don't think he's in a position to make them work. So let's start with an obvious one. It's high on the scales these days, and it involves the high-tech industry. Now, I was special counsel and chief of staff to Zoe Lofgren, who represents Silicon Valley. And one of the big issues in that section of the woods was H-1B visas. Those are visas that are granted for people who stay here for up to 6 years, and they have special talents. Now, this also invokes a failing in America, which is we can't supply the engineers and scientists ourselves. And so we're glad to welcome people who often come here as students and then continue on H-1B visas and become citizens themselves. So what is the split? Of course, it is that among the right-wing, non-scientific, we're better than everybody else in the world crew of Silicon Valley, they're opposed to this kind of immigration, people coming from elsewhere. Now, Elon Musk and a lot of others are on the other side, and they think, sure, if our educational system, which we should work on, can guarantee us the science we need to compete in a global atmosphere, so be it. Some think this is some kind of favoritism, I suppose, but if it's a favoritism, it's a favoritism to favor America competing. And the experience I had as a young student at Columbia Engineering in New York on the west side was, well, it was like an international union. We had students from everywhere in those classes, and we had a fair share of women scientists as well. And I was on what they call the 3-2 program, 3 years at Fordham to get a degree in physics and a major in theology. And I'm joking about that. And 2 years at Columbia, solid engineering. And you get 2 degrees. One is a bachelor's in physics and the other is a bachelor's in engineering. One in 68 and one in 69. So in that period, when I left Fordham, Columbia was like a real university. I mean this not in a disgruntled sense. I mean there were people from so many places, and in the engineering classes we had those people. So when I ended up with Zoe, and this was one of the issues, I was fascinated by it. And she's worked it very hard, and so I am concerned about any efforts to diminish H-1B visas when we claim to be concerned about all sorts of scientific issues. So, what is the political implication of this? It shows, as I was saying more generally, that when you patch together a group of allies, if they have competing interests, this kind of breakdown will occur. And I say it's a breakdown because it is a heated fight between those who believe in H-1B visas, including Elon Musk, and those like Loomer, L-O-O-M-E-R, who think we should be pure and not have these scientists here. Now, it's kind of interesting because Elon Musk, if I'm right, was himself a holder of an H-1B visa. So he's here and succeeding in part because of this program, and his businesses use H-1B visas as well. I'm not critical of it for the reasons I've said. Also, there's a tension in the Republican ideology, and it goes like this. They don't think we should be promoting education, in part for the political reason that they believe that a person who studies too much becomes a liberal. Now, my escape route from the Bronx, all due difference to my old neighborhoods, was in large part education. Because I could compete, and neither my mom or dad or my brother went past high school. So it was a combination of DNA and curiosity, and I liked math, I liked to speak, I liked to write, and without knowing it, because there was no one to tell me it, it helped me get into schools where I learned things and was able to be more productive. And since my family didn't have any funds to speak of, the scholarships and grants that the government was presenting at the time were critical. So I'm very strongly in favor of the strongest possible education. Any person has the appetite and ability to perform. And, there's nothing wrong with, my brother was great with computers, although he didn't go past high school. And he could fix any car of that variety that you wanted. So it's not that there's one way to achieve, but we're not producing enough scientists. I don't know why. And you've heard the stories after World War II. German Jewish scientists came to the United States and helped us. Einstein is one of the greatest examples of that. So I am for H-1B visas, and I would like to celebrate the dissension in the Trump camp. But this is just one more example of an important issue that has to be understood and to come out right, or the economic success of our nation and the personal satisfaction of those who work here could be lost. And terrifying people that, oh, you're from another country, we don't know what we think about that. So that's a problem. And the Republicans, and I don't know how much of this affects their decisions, I don't think they appreciate what science means, the advantage of it. And they're afraid of it because it clashes with some of their mythical ideologies, like the notion that a fertilized ovum is somehow or other a life and being, when it's not a life at all. And we're talking medical science there. So anyhow, this is an example of one of those important issues where the right thing has to happen, and we have a mixed Congress that may or may not get it as well. And of course, it's in the category of immigration, which our sort of disunited states has not embraced in an intelligible, flexible, and successful manner. Now, I guess this is the kind of stupid policy that is the isolationists who don't want scientists from abroad to come here. What else can you expect from a party of xenophobes, chauvinists, bigots, really is what we're talking about. So, and we're talking about a community in a world in which the earth shrinks and we get along with each other, science is right in there. It's such a natural. Of course, I'm speaking with prejudice because from the time I was a kid and Sputnik went through the sky and I could still see it with my better eyes, I thought, that's better than magic, because I did magic tricks as a kid. And so that's when I decided to do math. So the saddest thing in America, I think, are students that aren't caught by something. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be anything. Because once they're caught, they spend the energy like a warrior on that thing because they care about it and they're interested in it. And it raises all boats, if you will. So now, let's talk about a couple of the additional silly things that would be redundant to repeat whenever we talk about Trump. He wants workers to be in the office, number one. Now, those of you who tried to get in and out of D.C. appreciate that there are shifts when people come and go. When I worked on the Hill, I thought, well, the good thing is when we have votes in the House, I'll leave late enough, there'll be nobody out there. But there are several rush hours. There's a rush hour when normally you expect one. And then all the functions in town, which are, you know, they may call them receptions and so forth, but a lot of business gets done at these receptions. Now, what could be more efficient, too, if you don't have to be in the office, than to work remotely? And between the pandemic and Holly's, illness, now somewhat past and recovering and celebrating more freedom, I wouldn't have thought of myself as being elsewhere than in our law office. And I use it, of course, but I also use the home office, which has the facilities I need for the most part. Now, the second thing that Trump wants to do with federal workers is send them away. Get them out of D.C., move whole operations. And that's a way, I think, to destroy the mission of these agencies rather than any good reason. He always has a hidden agenda, which is mostly transparent, I think, because he's not a genius, but he is a grand manipulator, and those too naive to think this man is corrupt are themselves the victims of his secret agenda. You know, that's him. And another category of stupid, which also has to do with, a bias that the Trump people have, is down in Texas. They've set up billboards. Governor Abbott, that was his idea. And the billboards are addressed to migrants, and they're basically saying, if you come here, you got to be worried, you're going to be abused, you're going to be raped, you're going to be arrested, you're going to be sent back. Is this really America? The inoculation against isms that are destructive and hateful and isolationist is truth. And every revolution, every user, abuser, and Trump is at the pinnacle of current notification of the world for the kind of lies all the time, lies, to get the entire government and the population off balance, to think those things that help them don't. Now, the Washington Post today had a story, and I mentioned it the other day, which was those prosperity citizens, prosperity Christians. And Calvinism, I guess, has an ideology of that sort, but I've never heard it used in a political vein, and that may just be my shortcoming, but it was used during this campaign for Hispanic voters. We'll take care of you, we'll help your business, you'll do this, that, and the other thing. And now these people are hoping, and not just limited to those Hispanics who hope that they would have better opportunities with Trump. After all, he's a businessman, yeah, whose machinery works on debt and fear and loathing and lying. So we have a real mess in America because we have lies flow easily, drop softly from the mouths of those people who have a satiny voice and sound friendly, sound like they're there to help you when they're not at all. Then you find it the minute you say, no, I don't agree with that. Then they go up like a 4th of July rocket attacking you. So, but a lot of them get away with it, and that's what's happening now. So you have immigration of scientists, you have a large force of federal workers that we rely on to make the government work, and Trump wants to compromise those who, how they get to work and to move their place of work to someplace else that's inconvenient. We want to scare people at the border, and Governor Abbott is leading that charge. These are the things that we have to resist on a daily basis. And I hate to say it, but I think this is a first level of chaos to move the nation closer to the dictatorship that probably Bannon, who understands better than Trump, both want to occur. So that's a couple of my thoughts today. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Extending your mini vacation if you have. And I'll talk to you tomorrow from my Cathedral of Trees. All the best. Bye-bye.